Hello friends. Long time no see. Truthfully, January has been a blur. The last time you saw a video from me was at the very beginning of January, where I just went back to work for the first week after winter break. I had a herniated disc in my back. It was terrible. It was so painful. I could barely walk. We are 3 weeks past that now. It's January 31st, so tomorrow we are moving into February, which is wild, but I'm so thankful for. In education, and especially in special education, February is like the hot spot month where just expect things to go nuts, especially in the Midwest. We've just hit this point in the year where it becomes crazy town. Kids are losing stamina and motivation, and the weather has kept them cooped up inside for so long that they need to be able to get outside, but they can't because it's too cold and there's too much snow and ice. And anyways, and we had just like the biggest snowstorm ever in the last video ever, being relative to Iowa. But anyways, I am so thankful. It is actually 50 degrees out right now, which is crazy. And the weather for the next entire week looks like it's in the 40s and 50s. So that's amazing. I'm thankful for that. And hopefully February won't be as bad as we always prep ourselves for. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. January was a blur, and I finally feel like I am getting back into a good groove of things. If you've been following along in my vlogs, you know that we recently became foster parents, and we are actually in the process of adopting our 8-year-old son that lives with us right now. So that is super exciting, but it's also been quite the transition for us. He's basically been with us since Thanksgiving full time. So going into December, there was a lot of transition period, and there was a lot of behavior that came up just around the transition to being in a new home and having a new set of rules and expectations to follow. And the honeymoon period was over, but also there's a lot of trauma memories that come around with Christmas and any holidays really. So we had to work through a lot of that. I feel like we're finally like coming over the roller coaster of that, and we're finally a little settled again. Not to say that it's not going to do this again on us, but that's parenting, right? And especially if you're parenting a child with trauma, you just have to be ready for it when it comes. But we're in a good spot right now. So here I am picking up my camera again to vlog. And yeah, that might have been the longest intro ever to say welcome to the vlog, happy February, and I'm glad we finally made it here. Today's video, it's one that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm finally gonna sit down and tell you all my ideas around this topic. I haven't filmed it up to this point just because I wanted to give myself enough time to gather my thoughts, and I kind of kept a running list of things in case I wanted to add to it and put it off from filming. But I have 3 things right now that I'm going to talk about. The topic of this video, which you would have already probably seen in the title though, is my teacher hot takes or unpopular opinions, whatever you want to call it. I have some, and they're things that, especially as I've moved into special education and working particularly with behavior, things that I feel very strongly about and I still see go wrong. I don't even want to know how widespread to say, like in my own school, in schools of my teacher friends that I work with, in schools I see that other teachers that post onto social media and things that are happening. So anyways, I'm gonna give you 3 of my teacher hot takes. I know I have more of them. I just don't necessarily not coming to mind at this point in time, or haven't come up where I was like, yep, I'm gonna write that down and remember it. So if at any point in this you have your own teacher hot takes, you agree or disagree with anything I'm about to say, go ahead and comment below. I love to have discussion with you about it. I'm gonna try to give you my reasoning behind why I feel this way. But yeah, if you've got any more questions about why I think it, or you've got your own hot takes, agree or disagree, let me know. I'd love to hear it. With that being said, let's get started. Number 1 teacher hot take: kids should not have assigned homework. Now I know a lot of you are gonna come after me. How are we gonna teach them responsibility? How are they gonna be ready for middle school, high school, college, real life? Guess what? Kids do not have fully formed functioning brains yet. They don't. That's a fact of science of life. You don't even have a fully functioning brain until you are in your 20s, and it's different for males and females. But that being said, nobody middle school, elementary, middle school, high school, and into most of their college years, they don't have fully functioning brains yet. Like the earliest is like 23 for females and up to like 27 for males. So keep that in mind. Like even some of our coworkers, some of the people who work here as paraprofessionals do not have fully functioning brains. And I think that plays into a lot of the rest of my hot takes and why they become hot takes for me, because when you truly understand child development, a lot of the things that we expect from our students are not developmentally appropriate for them. And so I think that's something missing from a lot of our teacher prep programs, is truly understanding child development and knowing what is appropriate for them. And just because they were things that were expected of us as children and the way that we were parented does not mean that it's appropriate for our own children. And you know, when you know better, you do better. So kids should not have assigned homework. Now, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't ever be responsible for completing it. I'm not saying that. If it's a logical consequence and it has to follow them because they did not complete the expectation and we were busy doing something else during our work time and didn't get our work completed, sure, then that can follow them. There's also thoughts I have about that as to digging into why that happened and what that child needs, but nothing should ever just be sent home as you're doing this at home. Besides the fact that kids don't have fully functioning brains and we don't need to be having unrealistic expectations for them, the other problematic part of this, there is no research to support that homework improves student performance. The second thing is that if a child does not know how to do that skill, and that's why that work didn't get done in the first place during the school day, the child doesn't know how to do the skill and that's why that work didn't get done during the school day, now you're sending it home as homework, they're gonna do it wrong at home too. Chances are parents aren't helping them with it. Maybe you live in a really well-off, affluent, well-adjusted community and parents are helping with that stuff at home, but I'm just gonna go off my own instinct. Even if you are sending it home to parents who are well-adjusted, I don't even always check my own child's take-home folder, okay? And kids are involved in a lot of things, and by the time I get my kid home from school and then we go to his BHIS or therapy appointment or whatever else he has going on that week, we literally have 3 appointments every single week that he has, and then by the time I get him home and get him to have dinner, he's got like half an hour before I have to put him to bed and do his nighttime routine, okay? So even if the kid is going home to a well-adjusted family, there are other things going on. Yes, I care about my child's education. We're always gonna follow up with him and do those things at home, but parents don't want to be spending their evenings doing this with their children. That's not building good relationships for families. So every situation is different, and if you feel like, yes, this needs to go home because this child does need to be held accountable for it, okay, that's your own individual situation, and I hope you are really looking at that student and that student needs and asking yourself, why is this work not completed before you are sending it home? But chances are, if they don't know how to do it and that's why it's getting sent home, they're gonna just do it wrong at home too, because they're gonna do it on their own. They're gonna get it out and screw a bunch of things on there and they're practicing it wrong. So there's point number 2 about why they shouldn't have, well, 3, I guess, about why they shouldn't have assigned homework. And then point number 4, if they already have the skill mastered and they are able to do it correctly at home, why are you asking them to do it at home? They already have the skill mastered. Why are we sending it home and making them do more of it at home? It just, there's nothing productive that can really come from it. So my suggestion to you, if you have kids who are not completing their work, that you need to dig into that more specifically and ask yourself, why are we not completing it? Is it because they don't know how? Is it an anxiety issue where there's too much of it and we need to present it in a different way or chunk it up so that we're not so overwhelmed by the amount of work that we have to do? Do they need to learn how to ask for help? Just, there's so much more than beyond the surface to that. So hot take number 1, kids should not have assigned homework. Number 2, recess should never be taken away as a consequence. Come at me if you want. You're welcome to say what you want about having to hold kids accountable. But again, if the work is not completed, and that's why they're staying in, because they got to complete work. Why was the work not completed? Was it an unrealistic expectation that they were going to get that much of it done in that amount of time? Is it like, are we struggling to focus and we need to like dig into some other strategies on teaching the child how to stay on task and stay focused or have a motivation around that? Do they not know how to do the skill and that's why they need help with it for that? And if that's the case, then we need to find another time for reteaching and helping them with it. But recess is not the time to do that. Kids, again, back to my first point, do not have fully formed and functioning brains, and they need that time to get outside and move their bodies. Research will actually show you that academic performance increases when kids have more opportunity to have the fine arts, which includes PE and moving your body and getting outside. Recess would fall into that, where they need to get outside and have the sunshine and have a chance to move their body and be free and make their own choices. Bringing me to another reason. A lot of kids get recess taken away because of the blurting or being off task and talking. Do you think keeping them inside and forcing them to sit in a desk is going to help them for the rest of the afternoon be able to concentrate? If they were already struggling to concentrate and to keep their body in check and keep their mouths in check before recess happened, and then you take the one opportunity they have in the day to get all that movement and the talking out, you take that opportunity away from them, why on earth do you think that their afternoon is going to be better? You're taking away the opportunity for them to actually exercise what they need to exercise and get that need met. So the whole idea that we're taking recess away as a consequence and it's going to teach kids something is completely backwards. That is their time that they need to go be a kid and get all their energy out so that they can be a better student and focus when they come back in afterwards. So again, I want you to ask yourself, if you are using recess as a consequence and taking that away, why? What are the behaviors happening, and how do we address the skill deficits there and what the student actually needs? What is the function of that behavior? Why are we having problems that I feel like we need to take recess away as a consequence and address it from a different lens? Number 3, adults should be held more accountable than students. I went to a trauma and the brain conference last year. It was like a 3-part conference, and we went 3 different full days and listened to this speaker and did a lot of great learning, moving from being trauma informed to trauma responsive, meaning I don't just know about how trauma affects the brain, but now I'm actually using that to affect my practice in a good way and helping my students from a trauma responsive lens and actually implementing strategies that are going to help them. A quote came from the presenter that really stuck with me and stuck out, and it was, "No child will be held more accountable than the adults in the system." I'm again going to go back to what I keep repeating. Children do not have fully functioning brains. So a lot of the times we have these expectations for them that we think we need to hold them accountable for. It's not teaching them anything. Consequences don't teach kids stuff. Do I support logical consequences? Yes, all the time. I use them with my own child. We use them in here. If you make a mess, we clean it up. He's on a tier 2 system and has a check and check out chart every day. And so we have a reward for him at the end of the day for making his goals and the different goals that we have. And if we don't make those goals, then we don't have as much Nintendo time, right? So there's a logical consequence of like, you're doing these things to earn your reward. And if we don't do those things, then we don't have as much time on the reward time. Just like a behavior intervention in here about what we're reinforcing. But we just have so many ideas about holding kids accountable and thinking we're like a punishment and a consequence is going to fix it and motivate it. And it's not going to. If a child is having misbehavior, behavior is communication. That is like the core number 1 foundation of understanding behavior. Ask any psychologist about behavior, it is that behavior is communication. And so if a child is not behaving in an appropriate way and there is a problem behavior there somewhere, there's a reason it's happening. And we need to figure out, what are they communicating? What is the need there? Like, we are the adults, we have fully functioning brains. We are the ones who should be in control of our emotions and being able to bring the temperature down in a heated situation with a child. Now I want you to remember, even if you're teaching middle school and high school, and into college, they do not have fully functioning brains either. 16, 17-year-olds, as much as they want to act independent and cool, they're not adults for a reason. Even though legally you're an adult at 18, they're not up here yet. They do not make very logical decisions a lot of the time, okay? So as an adult, it is our job to remain calm, to remain consistent, and to help be that voice of reason for them and teach them and guide them. But just giving a consequence to a kid does not teach them the expectation, doesn't teach them the skill that they need. If they're, I go back to when I do behavior training at my school, I often use this metaphor of teaching a child to swim, right? So if you take kids swimming lessons, and they're not passing swimming lessons, are we going to punish them because they don't know how to swim? Or are you just going to keep teaching them how to swim so that they can do it? Obviously, we're not punishing a kid because he doesn't know how to swim. We're going to teach them and keep practicing until they can do it on their own. Same thing's true for behavior. And honestly, for reading, writing, math, all of our academics, we put kids on tier 2 groups all the time. We've got them in small groups. We've got them seeing their MTSS or tier 2 teachers and got them in intervention groups so that we can reteach them these skills. And we're not punishing them because they haven't met the goal yet. We just know we have to keep practicing these skills because there's a skill deficit there. Behavior is the same way. Kids have skill deficits in behavior that have to be taught and retaught and practiced over and over and over again. And there's not a specific timeline as to when they're going to finally get it. We have kids who are on tier 2 systems for reading and math from kindergarten all the way to 5th grade, and they're not punished because they aren't finally closing the gap and making it to grade level. We're going to continue working with them. So behavior is the same way. If a kid is misbehaving, we need to be the ones who can remain in control in that situation and stay in control of our emotions to help diffuse the situation, co-regulate with that child, get them back to a place where they can use their thinking brain and be logical with us. And if there are logical consequences that have to happen, that we need to go apologize to someone, clean something up, fix something, like, yes, that is appropriate. I believe in restorative practices, but just doling out consequences and punishments to kids thinking it's going to fix the issue and motivate them to act the right way, it's not, because they don't have the skills to do it. If they had the skills to do it, they would have done it in the first place. So as adults, we need to hold ourselves accountable more than talking about holding kids accountable all the time. Yes, kids do need to learn how to be held accountable, but the way you do that is by teaching them the skills and building up the skill deficits that they have, rather than thinking that consequences and punishments are just going to solve everything and that's how you hold someone accountable. It's not. We can hold them accountable by teaching them the skills that they need to learn and practicing with them and having empathy and modeling for them the way that they should act. Adults 100%, 1000% need to be the ones who are being held more accountable for our actions and the way that we are teaching our students, rather than just coming down hard on our kids all the time. So anyways, there you go. There are my 3 teacher hot takes for the moment. Let me know if you liked this video, if you agreed, disagreed, if you got your own teacher hot takes. I'd love to chat with some of you, or as many of you that's willing to talk, in the comments. And if you want more of these kinds of videos, I would love to do it. Let me know if you've got an idea for it. And yeah, I will keep writing these down as I think of them, and maybe we can do a part 2 to this. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe so that you can stick around and see any future videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.